G'day Bomber fans, it's that time of the week again, another injury update. I kind of wish I had this video channel back a few years ago, because these videos would have been pumped out every day with the amount of injuries we used to have. As we know, it's been pretty quiet this pre-season, which is perfect for us. That's exactly what we want to see as fans. Hopefully it stays that way for the rest of the year, fingers crossed. There is a bit of news that came out yesterday regarding the return dates of some of our injured stars, so I'm going to go over that. I will go over what some squad members have been saying about the club as well, and some training updates just to make the video a bit longer and more interesting. And also, I will be back to posting 3 times a week heading into the 2024 season, so let me know if there are any particular videos you would like to see. Always down for some ideas, but let's just get into this one. Alrighty, so we start with Shiel, who of the first team players is the furthest away from game time, but he is still eyeing off a return to the field for one of our practice matches, the second game in particular against Geelong at GMHBA Stadium on March the 1st, I believe. A few saw this and thought that meant that he would be fit for round 1. It doesn't necessarily. I still think he won't be available, but it's just minutes he is seeking here. It could be a quarter in the practice game, could be a half, and almost definitely will not be the whole game, but it's still great news. I think the last time I made a video like this, I said he would be unlikely to play in either of those games based on his progression, but now his target is clearly that practice game, limited minutes in the second match. It may not eventuate, he may not tick the boxes to get there, but what it means is that he isn't that far away from full game minutes. Early into the season, I think we see Shiel. Again, I doubt he's in the discussion for round 1. He has been so far behind the pack this pre-season. I doubt Scott would rush him back early, but we at least know what Shiel is aiming to achieve now after that injury. And keep in mind, he had issues to his whole leg, pretty much, knee and feet, so he has had to do a lot of work to get back. We're starting to see him on the track more. I think the club takes a precautionary approach considering his age. Wouldn't be surprised if he misses the practice matches and eases into it, but good news regardless. Sam Draper is right in the mix to play in round 1. He's in fact in the mix to play in the practice games leading up. Both of them, I'd say he could get minutes in, even the St. Kilda one later this month. But you know, the club could well just decide to rest Draper for that and give some experience to a younger player. But like Shiel, the club won't be rushing anything. He is a valuable squad member, but we do have ruck depth. We have time before round 1 as well, and Scott and his crew would rather see Draper last the year longer in the back half rather than have him available a game or 2 earlier if he was rushed. It would be a huge boost for the club if he was to play round 1, obviously, but as we saw late last year, we can't be having an underdone Sam Draper. That GWS game when we rushed players back was woeful to watch. Draper was a non-entity. I don't want to see the club go down that road again. Would much rather see Nick Bryan and Todd Goldstein play in round 1, considering Hawthorn's ruck options are pretty stinky after Ned Reeves. Now, aside from that, I think the only other player on the injury list is Tex Wanganeen, unless I'm missing someone out. He obviously had that moon boot on for an eternity. He is also being nursed back. He has started moving around a lot more freely in the last few weeks, which is good. He won't be available for the practice games, not round 1 either. I think the good thing about his situation being a reserves level player is that he can be nursed back through the VFL playing limited minutes, but we won't see him feature earlier than Draper and Shiel. He is well behind them in terms of progress, I believe. Now, something a little different. I'm going to go over the injury lists of the clubs we are set to face in the first few rounds 1, 2, and 3, just so we know a little bit more leading up to these games. Hawthorn round 1. The big news on the injury front is Will Day, who is likely to miss the opening game. He has a stress fracture in his foot, so even if he is healthy by then, he may not be match fit. The latest player to suffer an injury is Seamus Mitchell, a defender. He isn't really a big name, as big as Day, but he suffered a facial injury and will miss the opening rounds of the season. Chad Wingard has that Achilles injury that he's returning from, so we won't see him, and Bailey McDonald is the other. He's a second-year player who has a stress fracture. The big news is Will Day, though. He probably won't play in round 1, which is a big loss for the Hawks, as he recently won their Best and Fairest award. At Sydney, aside from some regular pre-season niggles, I think the only main name in doubt for the round 2 clutch is their captain, Callum Mills, who broke his collarbone in rather controversial fashion. I think it was Mad Monday celebrations or he was out with mates. I don't quite recall the details, but he won't play till quite a bit into the season, so we're not going to see him. There are some other names that we shouldn't really pay much attention to, Lachlan McAndrew, but yeah, Callum Mills is the big one. And St. Kilda, who we face in round 3, new recruit Paddy Dow initially looked to have done his ACL in training. The good news is that scare was just that. It was a scare. But he will not play in the first round or 2, it seems, at this stage. Tough to know his return date. It will be early into the season. Not sure if it'll be against us or not. You never know if players progress quicker or slower than initially expected, so we'll see. Dan Butler, similar situation. He had surgery but is likely to play early. Just don't know how early. And the other one is Ben Patton, a player we've been linked to in the past. His injury problems have continued. Unfortunately, he tore his pectoral muscle, so he's not going to be available for round 3. Now, I want to touch on the VFL because this has been a short video so far. I wanted to do a whole video on this, but I didn't really have enough material to justify one video. But I wanted to touch on the VFL team. They're training hard under Blake Caracella. They went over to the Northern Territory and played in a little exhibition match against an NTFL team consisting of the best players across that league. There were some former AFL players there like Ryan Nyhouse from Freo and Jed Anderson. We ended up losing that game, but there were some promising signs, and we got to see how the team would shape up without the Essendon AFL listed players. So Xavier O'Neill, the former Eagle, was the captain of the side. Obviously, Billy Cootie left for the Sandful, so we need a new leader, and that could be O'Neill. Jackson Haitley ran through the guts and looked good. Caracella has thrown praise as well towards Ricky Monty and Jared Eckersley, which is great. And we are also hopefully set to see 3 Bomber Academy players play in the VFL when they aren't in the Coach Talent League. Isaac Kako, Jaden Ewan, and possible draft prospects, and Noah Caracella is the son of Blake, a possible father-son if he improves. So that's a little fun trio that we could potentially see at some stage in the VFL. And now the fixture hasn't been released for the VFL season yet, so we don't know who we're going to be playing when we play. It usually kicks off a week after the AFL starts, so that's after round 1, not opening round. So if round 1 is, for us I think it's March 16, the VFL will start the 23rd or that weekend. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, there's a 95% chance I am. And just to finish off, a few little notes. I know we've been hyping up certain players as fans, but I want to highlight a few names the players themselves are keen about. Langford obviously had very high praise for Harry Jones up forward, who is enjoying a career best pre-season. Dyson Heppel has enjoyed the output of Zach Merritt, Darcy Parish and Jai Caldwell, saying that they've all gone to new levels. McGrath had a lot to say about Sartas and the standards he's setting, but this isn't new, guys. It would be weird if players didn't hype each other up. Every club does it. Heppel isn't just going to stay silent when asked who is tearing up on the track. I have put a few videos out centered around the best performing players this season from us fans' eyes, so check those out and stay tuned. I will chuck out another because I believe we do have match sim this Saturday, tomorrow. It's usually the Saturday morning sessions where the boys begin the match sim, and it makes sense to do those tough sessions on the weekend as well, so the boys get used to the weekend work and the weekday training loads. That's about it though. Quick injury update, little training update, touched on the VFL. What more do you need from a Friday video? I'll be posting pretty regularly from now heading into the 2024 season, so let me know what video ideas you have. That's all though. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and go Bombers.